Welcome to the Toyo Tires Porsche Championship, and today's action comes from deep in the Wiltshire countryside at Castle Combe. James COLEMAN makes a return back to the series, having missed a few races with car trouble, and the important thing is he is on pace. 0.002 of a second behind Adam SOUTHGATE in qualifying is going to make this race very exciting. To take you through all of the action, it's over to our commentator, Sanson.
Let's talk you through the grid for the first race here at Castle Combe. Adam SOUTHGATE and James COLEMAN on the front row from Garry LAWRENCE and Kevin Molyneux. Third row is Nick Hull and Garry GOODWIN from Matthew Harris and Andrew Baker. And the 924 battle will be a two-man war, Gavin Johnson versus Hugh Pert. And that is also for the lead in the championship in that class. Plenty of onboard cameras for this first race with GOODWIN, with Kevin Molyneux second in the championship. Matthew Harris will carry an onboard camera as well, as will Garry GOODWIN. So plenty of great racing to come here, and James COLEMAN, the 00, Dick Dastardly himself, will be on our onboard cameras, as well as Nick Hull in the number 4, the Union Jack on his car, and away we go at Castle Combe, the first of 3 races. It's a cracking start from the front of the field from the leaders as they charge forward down towards Folly. They go through the flat-out right-hander, and then they will charge towards Avon Rise. On board with Nick Hull. That's Kevin Molyneux on the left-hand side. Garry LAWRENCE going up the inside, a cracking start. Oh, and a little bit of a rub between SOUTHGATE and COLEMAN. Goodness me, that was very nearly a massive accident in the quarry. And now COLEMAN's sideways trying to come through. Garry LAWRENCE has shot past both of them. And Molyneux's to our right side, coming and going to third position. Brilliant start to the race, and that has completely shuffled the order. Garry LAWRENCE is your race leader then from SOUTHGATE, Molyneux and COLEMAN, with Nick Hull in 4th position in front of Garry GOODWIN. Then it is left for Harris and Baker to scrap amongst the spoils, with Gavin Johnson and Hugh Pert battling away with 924 honours. James COLEMAN trying to move his way up into 3rd position once more as Adam SOUTHGATE charges after the new race leader Garry LAWRENCE. What an incredible start, but how close were SOUTHGATE and COLEMAN to absolute disaster as Nick Hull goes into Bobby's right on the back of James COLEMAN. They go back on the power and up towards Camp Corner at the end of a very exciting first lap here in the first of 3 races in the Toyo Tires Porsche Championship. No pit stop race this time. That was an experiment at Rockingham, but there's still going to be a reverse grid race as COLEMAN again tries up the inside of Kevin Molyneux. Hasn't been able to make the switch. COLEMAN decides to sell in the dummy as they come up towards Folly. Can he stand on the throttle? Molyneux trying to squeeze in there to the inside line as they go over Avon Rise, and here comes Nick Hull for an opportunity. COLEMAN's going to get through, no problem at all. Nick Hull's going to use that same bit of gap to come through. Oh, and Molyneux's gone across. Molyneux comes across and shuts the door on Nick Hull. Oh, Nick Hull has hit him. Now, I think that was actually more to do with the fact that Molyneux came off the throttle and Nick Hull had nowhere to go. Now, did he miss a gear or was that intentional? That is a very interesting state of affairs. There's been some discussion off circuit about driving standards, and the stewards have said they're going to be a lot stricter for incidents as SOUTHGATE moves up the inside of LAWRENCE to take the lead. So LAWRENCE is no longer your race leader. Adam SOUTHGATE has come through. Now, I'd really like to see a replay of that incident between Molyneux and Nick Hull. It will clear a few things up as James COLEMAN now gets onto the back of the 93 of Garry LAWRENCE to try and surge into 2nd position. So it's SOUTHGATE leading, LAWRENCE 2nd, COLEMAN is 3rd, Molyneux is 4th, and GOODWIN is in 5th position. Nick Hull is recovering after his spin, but I'm not too sure that's as clear cut as we first thought it was. I'm wondering now, trying to play that incident back in my head, because Nick Hull went for the gap on the inside at Quarry. Molyneux turned in. Whether he knew Nick Hull was there or not is not up for debate, but he certainly bashed into the side of him as they came through the corner. And then it seemed as if Hull drove into the back of Molyneux, but I wonder if that's more to do with gamesmanship than it is to do with driving. Here it is again. So Coleman's already got through Molyneux. Hull up the inside. Shuts the door, Kevin Molyneux, slides out sideways. Hull comes back to the inside line. And look, it's as if Molyneux just eases off the gas. And Nick Hull has nowhere to go but into him. That is a very strange place to have an accident. Let's have a look. Hull up the inside of Molyneux. Molyneux turns in. Bang! And now Nick Hull thinks, okay, I'll back out of it and have another go. But suddenly, Molyneux gets off the power. Look, Hull has gone into the back of him. There's no way of Nick Hull being blamed for that one. That's normally a part of the circuit where you're up on the acceleration. Now, the stewards are going to need to have a look at that and make a judgment. Well, rather them than me, as Gavin Johnson runs in front of Hugh Pert as they battle away for position. But that's a very tough incident to call. From the outset, it looks as if Nick Hull's gone into the back of Kevin Molyneux and spun it, but I think there's more to it than that. Hugh Pert chasing after Gavin Johnson as these two battle not just for the lead in the 924 class, but also for the championship lead. And it's these two who are left to scrap over it. Now, here's the battle for second place. This is Garry Lawrence being chased down by James Coleman. It's great to see James out there after he missed all 3 races at Rockingham. The Friday testing, his engine went and the head gasket basically blew its top. So that meant he missed the whole weekend, and that is his chances of the championship well and truly destroyed. However, he is still a racer. He will not give up, and he is going to continue to fight for as many victories this season as he can get. But Garry Lawrence is right up on pace here at Castle Combe as they come down towards Tower. This is an absolutely terrific run for Garry Lawrence. They're in second position, briefly, of course, in the lead. They come out of Tower, up towards Bobby's. We're on board with James Coleman, the 00. I wonder if he still carries Muttley strapped to the roll cage. I know he used to in previous seasons. Haven't seen his car up close for a while, but there's so many bits and pieces going on in the Toyo Tires Porsche Championship. Into the final turn at Camp, and then back over the start-finish straight, powering through. Adam Southgate leads the way, but certainly it is nowhere near as dominant a margin as it has been in previous weekends. But Adam Southgate has won every single race this year except one. That man, James Coleman, that we're riding on board with, is the man who's taken a win off him, and he did it back at Knock Hill. So Garry Lawrence right on the back of Adam Southgate once again, trying to make a move for the lead. Southgate's having to move across to defend. That's okay because he's made one clear move, but Lawrence is going to try and come through up the inside anyway, and he's got there. Lawrence steps out the back end of the car slides, and now Coleman's going to get round the outside of both of them. Coleman takes the lead. Oh, brilliant racing at Castle Combe. Superb from James Coleman round the outside of Southgate. He saw an opportunity, realised the gap was there, and then went, brilliant, this is my moment. James Coleman takes the lead at Castle Combe as they go out of Tower up towards Bobby's, and now Southgate is swarming all over the back of Coleman. Now Southgate really can start sweating. He knows that James Coleman can take victories off him. He did it back at Knock Hill. Now he wants to make sure his winning streak continues. So Southgate has another look as they come up to Camp Corner. Lawrence is going to try and throw it up the inside of Southgate. That's a late lunge, but he's through. Brilliant move from Garry Lawrence. Whoops, and Matthew Harris has gone over the grass there. So he needs to get back on track pretty sharpish. He has now done so. In the background, Kevin Molyneux dropping to 4th, a long way back off these 3. And Garry Goodwin there in 5th. What a spectacular battle this is turning out to be out front. James Coleman leads the way now from Garry Lawrence and Adam Southgate, and it looks like it's going to be these 3 duking it out for the rest of the race. This is easily the most exciting encounter we have seen in the championship in 2018. Coleman, Lawrence, Southgate, line astern as they go through the S's and up towards Old Paddock Bend. That's the move James Coleman pulled. That's the location of his move on Adam Southgate a lap ago. And that's problems for the 99 of Matthew Harris. Unfortunately, I guess that's the reason he went off. He had some mechanical problems, so he is pulling into the pits to retire as Gavin Johnson continues to lead the race in the 924 class in front of Hugh Pert, and he's pulling out a gap. Now, he could really do with a couple of victories because he wants to get that championship deficit down to Hugh Pert after some mechanical problems at the start of the season. What a beautiful sight for James Coleman. A clear track in front of him as he comes up towards Camp Corner. Garry Lawrence now is charging after him, though. I'll tell you what, Garry Lawrence has got a car underneath him that can win this. He is pushing incredibly hard. He seems to suit the Castle Combe circuit very well indeed. Is one of them trailing smoke? I'm wondering if one of those two up front is actually trailing some smoke. It might be Coleman, actually. He's got some smoke coming off the back of the car. Now, if that's an oil leak, then that's really going to cause him a problem as Garry Lawrence skids around behind him, trying to get into the lead of the race. So James Coleman leading the way. There definitely seems to be some kind of smoke coming off the back of the car. Now, whether that's just normal, if the engine's running at a particular temperature and it just happens to be trailing smoke, then that's all right. But if that's a terminal problem, then that really is going to hamper James Coleman's weekend. He needs to bounce back with a win here after missing all 3 races at Rockingham. As Southgate goes for a late lunge on Lawrence, that's enough to let Garry know that he's there. No major move into Tower Corner on that occasion, though. They come up towards Bobby's. Right, left, plenty of curve on the way through both turns. There's Nick Hull, so he has got going again. But I wonder if he'll be a little bit aggrieved about that incident with Kevin Molyneux on the first lap. We'll have to look into that one a bit later, I guess. Up towards camp. James Coleman, the 00 leads the way. Second position, Garry Lawrence has got Adam Southgate swarming all over the back of him, and Southgate's got a great run out of camp as they go through Folly. They will go up and over Avon Rise. Southgate is side by side with Garry Lawrence. Lawrence is doing exactly what he needs to do, squeezing Southgate, trying to intimidate him, and that's a perfect bit of defence from Garry Lawrence. This is one of the scariest parts of British motorsport. There's the run to quarry. Many motor racing seasons have ended at Quarry Corner, not to do with injury, I should point out, but to do with mechanical problems or difficulties with the car when they've gone off at that point and caused themselves too much damage. So that is a very nasty point of the circuit as they come through the S's and up towards Old Paddock Bend, and Southgate's looking very racy on the back of Garry Lawrence now. Has he got a chance? He's going to try and dart across to the right side of the circuit. Dive for that inside line in the hope that Lawrence will overcook it. Southgate very nearly overcooks it. Stands on the brakes as James Coleman laps Hugh Pert. Lawrence is going to take that opportunity and dive up the inside. Southgate is going to get through as well. Hugh Pert suddenly realises they're there and lets them through. And that's a bit of a headache for Adam Southgate. The gap has opened up a little bit between himself and Garry Lawrence. Still a long way to go in this race, though. So as far as Southgate is concerned, it's not done yet, but that's definitely going to cause him a bit of a headache. They come out of Camp Corner, back over the start-finish line once again. Oh, and that's Nick Hull. Nick Hull with problems. Now, was that because of the incident? So, Nick Hull pulling off the race circuit, and unfortunately, his weekend has not started in great form. So, that's a shame for the Union flag number 4. Hopefully, he'll be back in race 2. James Coleman leading the way. Garry Lawrence in second. Now, there's an oil flag down, so I wonder if that's the reason that Nick Hull has pulled off the circuit. Oh, and there's a problem for Coleman! Coleman's got a problem! James Coleman's out of the race! I don't believe it! The race leader, James Coleman, is out at Castle Combe! He's got a problem. I did wonder if that puff of smoke in the back of the car was going to be terminal. And James Coleman, from the lead of the race, he'd done everything right. And it's all over. That is heartbreaking. We're on board with Molyneux as he now laps Hugh Pert, but that is devastating for James Coleman, the 00. Oh, you can't get more bad luck in one season than Coleman's already had. He missed the entirety of Rockingham through a head gasket blowing. Here's the battle for the lead. The oil flags are out, and that is down to a couple of things, really. Nick Hull and James Coleman both out of the race with mechanical problems. What a disaster for the pair of them. So now Garry Lawrence leads the way. Could this be his first win of the 2018 championship? Battling away there with Adam Southgate. Southgate is determined to get himself back into the lead of the race. He's had a much tougher challenge for the victory today than he has had all season long as Lawrence. Look at him powering through Quarry. Plenty of speed, the back end slips out, and he somehow catches it. But that is enough for Southgate to go through and take the lead. Oh my word. This is one heck of a race, I tell you. All sorts of thrills and spills throughout, but Adam Southgate has taken that opportunity and has got into the lead. And if I know Adam Southgate, he's not losing that lead easily. As Garry Lawrence continues to put the pressure on him, trying to get himself back into position. Oh, I really hope Garry Lawrence doesn't beat on himself too much for that. He will be feeling very disappointed indeed with himself that he's thrown away the lead of the race. But he has done an absolutely fantastic job regardless. We're on board with Garry Goodwin. He's got 2 cameras on his car for a change as he closes up on Kevin Molyneux. And I am being told that there is an investigation going on into the incident between Molyneux and Nick Hull. So post-race there are going to be some inquiries about it. Goodwin chasing after Molyneux though for the moment. They are battling over 3rd position now. And it is 3rd position, isn't it? Because it was 4th. And James Coleman out of the race means that this is for the final step on the podium. Garry Goodwin has yet to be on the podium in 2018. He's got a good run and he's got a chance on Molyneux. They're going to be side by side as they come over Avon Rise. through Folly, and Goodwin's through. Goodwin has got past Kevin Molyneux. Molyneux's trying to step on the gas still. We're on board with him to the left of Goodwin, but Goodwin is through, and that's a good bit of driving from Garry Goodwin out of the final turn. That's definitely the move of his season to get himself into a podium-paying position. Now Molyneux hasn't given up. Dolly Molly is pushing here in a move towards third position. Oh, James Coleman's car looking so forlorn and woeful at the side of the circuit there. Retired from the lead, James Coleman. What does he need to do to catch a break in 2018? Well, this man's had a good run in the last few weekends. Kevin Molyneux, currently in fourth position, chasing after Garry Goodwin. But I gather that he is already racing under fire here at Castle Combe for that little tussle with Nick Hull on the second lap, or third lap of the race, I should say. So Molyneux, for the moment, is chasing after the podium as he closes in on Garry Goodwin. Goodwin in third, Molyneux in fourth. To say some pretty exciting racing here this weekend. Pre-race, the officials did say they were going to be a little bit stricter when it came to driving standards, as there had been apparently, and I'm not saying this is my opinion, but according to a couple of the people at the side of the circuit, there have been a few incidents over the course of the year that have been questionable. So the driving standards are being very heavily scrutineered for the remainder of the season, and I think that's a very decent decision, actually, because you've got to remember that these guys are racing as a hobby. This is a bit like golf for them, only faster and much more exciting, and you don't want your entire season ruined by a couple of silly petty incidents when they could have been stamped out and penalised to avoid that kind of thing happening again. And this is the difficulty with club racing. The drivers are very, very skilled racing drivers, but because it's their hobby, because they're not doing it as a profession, they obviously have to make sure that they are A, safe, and B, able to complete a season on budget without silly things cropping up through the course of the season. So I think that's a fair call, and it's a good decision to make sure that everybody is playing fair and square. Garry Goodwin is third position, and he's got there on pure merit. This is what it's like riding on board with the splitter of the car as they go into bobbies. Plenty of curb on the way in and on the way out as Garry Goodwin makes his way up towards Cat Corner. That's a great camera view. It's a shame we don't have it more often in the Toyo Tires Porsche Championship paddock. But Garry Goodwin looking good for third position at the moment as he continues to run in front of Dolly Molly, the party animal of the championship. Kevin Molyneux, who's had a great run in the last few races, took a pair of second places at Rockingham and is currently second in the championship standings. And it looks likely, if James Coleman is out of the first race, looks fairly likely to leave it there as well, with second place intact. But with Coleman out, Matthew Harris is out. I'm trying to think who else. Nick Hull is obviously out of the race. They're dropping like flies in this boxer category. We're on board with Molyneux chasing after Goodwin once again. That man, James Coleman, clearly out of the race and once the race leader. Every single lap we watch these guys come around, it's a constant reminder almost that James Coleman sitting there in the background. I could have won this, I should have won this. You could just about make out Nick Hull's car there to the right hand side of the screen when they come through at the right angle as well. As Nick Hull pulled off just after Old Paddock Bend. As they go through Tower, Kevin Molyneux still pushing hard, trying to close in on Garry Goodwin, but at the moment it looks to me as though third place is pretty much sealed. It's all about whether Garry Goodwin makes a mistake or not. And for now, it looks pretty much sorted as they continue to run around together in third and fourth position. And if I do my math properly, I think that's going to be Garry Goodwin's first visit to the podium if he stays where he is in 2018, and he will thoroughly have earned it. They come down over the start-finish straight once again, through Folly, the right-hander, and then back over Avon Rise. This is one of the toughest circuits in Great Britain. Definitely very underrated. I've been coming here for a few years now, and it's a wonderful, wonderful old-school circuit. Only a couple of chicanes added in the late 90s after a very tragic accident here that took place in 1997, where one of the drivers very sadly lost their life. So the changes were made to the circuit to compensate for the speed. Adam Southgate has dealt with it very well indeed and is leading the way here. Absolutely in charge of this one. Garry Lawrence is still there, by the way. You just saw him going through the chicane there in second position, so he's got this one pretty much in command for second place. But a very quick lap here at Castle Combe as we come into the closing stages of this race, and Adam Southgate has definitely had to fight for this one. He's had some dominant races in 2018. Rockingham was a very important case study into his championship assault. But here today at Castle Combe, he's really had to sit up and go for it. because he's had two drivers to battle with, James Coleman and Garry Lawrence. He really had to work hard in the opening stages. Kevin Molyneux and Nick Hull were very much in there in the first part of the race as well. So from Adam Southgate's point of view, he's really had to work for this. He's not been in a position of comfort for much of this race at all, as he goes into the S's, through the right, through the left, and then back out to Old Paddock Bend. And even he is still struggling. The back end steps out big time there for Adam Southgate. He's had to work incredibly hard here at Castle Combe. Let's not forget, he was only 0.02 of a second faster than James Coleman in qualifying. So from his point of view, he's still having to be very, very hard on himself indeed as he pushes the car around the course. And Goodwin's trying to hold off Molyneux. The back end stepping out for Goodwin. Hang on to it, Garry. Oh, and Molyneux's lost it as well. Goodwin catches it, but Molyneux's into the wall. Oh dear, Molyneux trying to avoid Garry Goodwin, chucks the car into the barriers on the exit of the S's, and that's a messy end for Dolly Molly. Meanwhile, Adam Southgate's coming out of the final corner to receive the last lap board. So Garry Goodwin is going to hang on for third position, but Molyneux, I'm fairly sure, is out of the race with a big impact. Let's watch again. Look, Molyneux tried to get up the inside of Goodwin. Goodwin held onto the car. Initially, the back end steps out. He then loses it one way and another. Molyneux slaps on it to try and get out of the way and ends up going straight into the barriers. That's the problem with Castle Combe. The barriers are so close to the edge of the racetrack, and there is nothing Molyneux can do about that one, and his race is over, and he knows it. So Adam Southgate leads the way here on the final lap at Castle Combe. This is the circuit that bites, and it really has bitten Kevin Molyneux on that occasion. So he's out of the race. Yellow flags fly at that part of the circuit as Adam Southgate comes up to lap Hubert for the second time. Such is the short and fast nature of this circuit here at Castle Combe, that he's able to get up to Hubert and lap him a second time, where normally we would only lap the 924s once. We are lapping them twice, although we're only going to lap one of them once. Only one of them twice, I should say, by the look of it, because Gavin Johnson has pulled out a decent lead over Hubert. So the checkered flag is going to come out for Adam Southgate. He had to work for it this time, but what a satisfying feeling it will be to win this one, where there was so much to do. Checkered flag flies, and Adam Southgate's winning streak in 2018 continues here at Castle Combe. Lawrence is second, from Garry Goodwin in third, from Andrew Baker in fourth, with retirements from Coleman, Hull and Harris. Molyneux was indeed excluded for his incident with Nick Hull in the opening stages, while Gavin Johnson takes the victory in front of Hubert in the 924 battle. I can't wait for race 2.
Adam, to anyone looking at the result sheets, it seems like 1, 2, 3 started the same position, ended the same position, but that doesn't really show a true reflection of what happened out there. No,
it's a fairly busy race out there, to be honest with you. Yeah, so what happened? So I think Garry got me off the start because James and I had a little bit of contact, unfortunately. Kind of, nothing doing. And then it was a really good battle between James, me and Garry. James retired, I think, he had a suspension failure. And then Garry made a mistake, and I was lucky to take the win, to be honest with you.
Garry, tough racing out there. There was a lot going on between the three of you. Adam just got through there towards the end, but how do you cope? That was intense.
Yeah, it was, especially for me, because that's the first, it's a new car for me this season, and it's a different car to what everyone else is running, so it's got different characteristics, and we've struggled to get it anywhere close to what everyone else is doing, but we're sort of getting there now, and yesterday was sort of testament to that, because up until then I would have never kept up with the lads.